What genre is performing best on Filmhub?
Standard best indie filmmaker question. What should be my next genre? Guess what? It depends totally on your film. I hate this comment of saying like, oh, we only want, we only want genre-based films, like, etc. Like, guess what? Some of our best performers are art house titles. People think art house titles don't perform. Guess what? They can. It really just depends ultimately on your film. It really, can vary and depends. It's like, you got to like, it just really, it's up to the film is really ultimately the thing. You got to look at that. Forget this concept of genres, etc. What matters is finding an audience, right? The audience exists across genres, right? And so it's like, that's the more important way you think about it. So it's not about like which film genre, it's about what film audience. And like, think about what are things that you have large audiences for that are super interested. Like, yes, there are some audiences that are, very horror specific. There are some audiences that are very, let's call it conspiracy theory, aliens, those are areas that are interesting. There are people, very focused on like, factual documentaries. There are people that are very focused on action adventure stories. Like, it's like, it really depends. You just have to be very good about finding your audience and really speaking to that group. I mean, case in point, let's take a look at like, let's use a big example of something on Netflix that recently, at my heart, I'm a outdoorsman, big skier, backpacker, everything. And so, I was a huge fan of the, independently produced Maru and Free Solo films, right? And so what did Netflix do? They saw that those films were performing well. They saw they had huge built-in audiences, and they just went and produced their film 14. Honestly, the independently produced versions were much better. But, you see, is like they knew that there was an audience there. Guess what? That's what major film studios are doing and looking at. They're trying to see that the audience is where they go. So look at films that performed well. See things that have lots of ratings on IMDb. See what you think that interesting piece was. The data is there. Go troll IMDb. Look at things that have high ratings. Look at things that have high Rotten Tomatoes. Find the reason why you think they found that audience, right? Ultimately for films, if they really take off, you have to find that audience and get your ultimate, all you're trying to do is build a referral mechanism. Because guess what? If someone watches your film and doesn't recommend it to somebody else, you've missed an opportunity for marketing. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback on that a little bit. I started out my career, I love horror movies. I started out making horror movies. And at the time, the common, rule of thumb, indie films start in horror is what a lot of people were saying. And, I did okay with it. But from then all the way up until 2 years ago, what I heard over and over and over again from independent distributors was like, documentaries, make them if you're passionate, but, don't do it to make, money. But I switched over my paradigm 2 years ago into documentaries with very specific niche audiences in mind, and did very well. In some cases, better than any of the narratives I've done.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, but like, guess what? I've seen your documentaries, the ones that performed well, they all had built-in audiences, right?
Yep.
Like areas that have like really strong audiences, right? And like you built and you made those films to those. It's awesome.